Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Urdu CK podcast. This is episode number 27. We're your hosts, Shireen and Sajjad. Sajjad, can you share with our listeners what we'll discuss today?
Sure. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today's dialogue demonstrates how to express that you need something. We talk about various items that go into making a salad. Be sure to download the handout for this episode as we will include extra vocabulary on various fruits and vegetables, allowing you to expand on this dialogue further.
All right. As always, you'll hear the dialogue 2 times. Then we'll move to part 2, where Sajjad will read the Urdu lines and I'll provide the translation. Then in part 3, we'll discuss each line in more detail. So let's hear the dialogue. ओफो, मुझे डबल रोटी चाहिए सैंडविच बनाने के लिए।
क्या आप बाजार जाएंगी?
हाँ, जाना पड़ेगा।
अच्छा, मुझे एक चीज़ चाहिए बाजार से।
क्या चाहिए?
एक टमाटर सलाद के लिए।
ठीक है।
ओ, और 3 सेब भी चाहिए।
अच्छा।
ओ, और ऑरेंज जूस।
सज्जाद,
और दूध प्लीज।
अच्छा, मैं ऐसा करती हूँ कि तुम्हें पैसे दे देती हूँ डबल रोटी के लिए। ये लो।
क्या?
मुझे सिर्फ एक चीज चाहिए बाजार से, डबल रोटी।
लेट्स हियर दैट वन मोर टाइम।
ओफ हो, मुझे डबल रोटी चाहिए सैंडविच बनाने के लिए।
क्या आप बाजार जाएंगी?
हाँ, जाना पड़ेगा।
अच्छा, मुझे एक चीज चाहिए बाजार से।
क्या चाहिए?
एक टमाटर सलाद के लिए।
ठीक है।
ओ, और 3 सेब भी चाहिए।
अच्छा।
ओ, और ऑरेंज जूस।
सज्जाद,
और दूध प्लीज।
अच्छा, मैं ऐसा करती हूँ कि तुम्हें पैसे दे देती हूँ डबल रोटी के लिए। ये लो।
क्या?
मुझे सिर्फ एक चीज चाहिए बाजार से, डबल रोटी।
Okay, so now I'll read the Urdu lines and Shireen will translate. उफ हो, मुझे डबल रोटी चाहिए सैंडविच बनाने के लिए।
Ah, I need bread to make a sandwich.
क्या आप बाजार जाएंगी?
Will you go to the grocery store?
हाँ, जाना पड़ेगा।
Yes, I'll have to go.
अच्छा, मुझे एक चीज चाहिए बाजार से।
Okay, I need one thing from the grocery store.
क्या चाहिए?
What do you need?
एक टमाटर सलाद के लिए।
One tomato for the salad.
ठीक है।
Okay.
ओ, और 3 सेब भी चाहिए।
Oh, and I need 3 apples too.
अच्छा।
Okay.
ओ, और ऑरेंज जूस।
Oh, and orange juice.
और दूध प्लीज।
And milk, please.
अच्छा, मैं ऐसा करती हूँ कि तुम्हें पैसे दे देती हूँ डबल रोटी के लिए। ये लो।
Okay, how about this? I'll give you the money for the bread. Here you go.
क्या?
What?
मुझे सिर्फ एक चीज चाहिए बाजार से, डबल रोटी।
I only need one thing from the store, bread.
Now for part 3. The dialogue begins with Shireen saying, उफ हो, मुझे डबल रोटी चाहिए सैंडविच बनाने के लिए। So, मुझे डबल रोटी चाहिए सैंडविच बनाने के लिए literally means I want bread in order to make a sandwich. The verb चाहिए means to want. And it's the better verb to use because it's a more common way to express that you need something. In this case, we need bread for the sandwich. When she says मुझे डबल रोटी चाहिए सैंडविच बनाने के लिए, she means I need bread to make a sandwich.
Initially, I was going to write मुझे डबल रोटी की ज़रूरत है सैंडविच बनाने के लिए. मुझे डबल रोटी की ज़रूरत है सैंडविच बनाने के लिए. But I felt that that's just not how native Urdu speakers would express the idea of needing something like bread. The word zarurat means necessity. So if you think of things that are a necessity in life, like food, water, shelter, such concepts are a necessity for survival. They have a bit of a heavy context. But in our case, we just need bread to make a sandwich. It's not a matter of life or death, so we'd use the verb chahna. Also, it takes longer to say mujhe double roti ki zarurat hai sandwich banane ke liye, as opposed to mujhe double roti chahiye sandwich banane ke liye. From the two, which one would you choose, Sajjad?
I completely agree. I would also use the shorter sentence using the verb चाहिए. Now, let's return to मुझे डबल रोटी चाहिए sandwich बनाने के लिए. So, we just learned that the verb चाहना means to want. मुझे is an extended oblique form of the direct pronoun मैं. मुझे चाहिए means I want. To learn more about oblique pronoun, be sure to download the PDF for this episode from the Urdu CK website. That's www.urduseekhiye.com, www.urduck.com.
Yes, and I believe the extended oblique form was covered in detail in episode number 18, so be sure to listen to that too. Back to our dialogue. So I used double roti instead of just roti because roti is a specific type of bread. It's a flat type of bread, kind of like a tortilla. I'll be sure to put images of a roti as the image for this episode, and I'll include it on the site. So to distinguish between that flat bread and sliced bread, I use double roti. That's at least what I hear my dad say. Sajad, do you use double roti in your household to refer to sliced bread?
In my home, we just say bread. I feel like the word double roti is rarely used anymore. It's okay to just say bread, but the person would understand if you used either bread or double roti. Okay, so let's discuss the final piece के लिए. Again, the jumla is मुझे डबल रोटी चाहिए sandwich बनाने के लिए. के लिए here means in order to. For example, if I want to say in order to get rid of the hunger, I have to eat. To say this in Urdu, we'd say भूख मिटाने के लिए मुझे खाना पड़ेगा. भूख मिटाने के लिए मुझे खाना पड़ेगा. भूख means hunger. The verb mitana means to erase. And we'll discuss padega later in this episode.
Also, you can change up the order. So in English, we can either say, in order to get rid of the hunger, I have to eat, or I have to eat in order to get rid of the hunger. Similarly, in Urdu, we can either say, भूख मिटाने के लिए मुझे खाना पड़ेगा, or मुझे खाना पड़ेगा भूख मिटाने के लिए.
While both sentences are grammatically correct in Urdu, the first sentence structure is more common. So it's better to say भूख मिटाने के लिए मुझे खाना पड़ेगा. Let's give one more example with के लिए. In order to get a good job, I must get a good education. To say this in Urdu, we could say अच्छी नौकरी पाने के लिए अच्छी तालीम हासिल करना ज़रूरी है. अच्छी नौकरी पाने के लिए अच्छी तालीम हासिल करना ज़रूरी है.
That's a good example. If you notice, in the English sentence, we used the same verb twice. In order to get a good job, I must get a good education. A synonym of to get is to obtain or to acquire. But in Urdu, we used two different verbs. We used bana, which means to obtain, and we used hasil karna, which also means to obtain or to acquire. This has to do with the concept of co-location. When you use the word nokri, which means job, you usually use the verb bana, nokri bana. And when you use the word talim, which means education, we use the verb hasil karna, talim hasil karna.
Yes. So once more, the examples are भूख मिटाने के लिए मुझे खाना पड़ेगा and अच्छी नौकरी पाने के लिए अच्छी तालीम हासिल करना ज़रूरी है.
Notice the use of zaruri here. As I said earlier, zarurat means necessity. So here you can see that this is a bit of a heavier topic. It really is a necessity to obtain a good education in order to have a better life or a better job.
Moving on. After Shireen expresses that she needs bread to make a sandwich, I ask, क्या आप बाजार जाएंगी? That means, will you go to the grocery store? Shireen used bazaar in the dialogue, but an even more casual way of referring to the supermarket can be dukan, which literally means store. Also, there are really huge stores here in Karachi that contain just about everything: clothes, food, technology, something like a Walmart in the United States. We call those either supermarkets or superstores, so you might hear that also.
Gotcha. That's good to know. Yeah, for some reason, when I hear bazaar, I think of an outdoor market where there are different vendors selling things like clothes, shawls, jewelry.
Well, that's not entirely incorrect. Bazaar is a versatile word.
Very true. Yeah.
Okay, let's return to the question. क्या आप बाजार जाएंगी? If you have listened to previous episodes, you might recall that we often begin questions with the word kya to indicate that it's a question. Kya can either mean what or it can serve as a question indicator, which it is doing here. So, kya aap bazaar jayenge means will you be going to the store? You know, it's a question in the future tense because of the ingi ending. Again, we encourage you to check out the PDF to understand the future tense better.
Yes, to conjugate a verb in the future tense, you'll take the stem of that verb and add the appropriate future tense ending to that verb stem. All the future tense endings are included in the PDF.
For episode 27.
So to the question, क्या आप बाजार जाएंगी? I respond, जी, जाना पड़ेगा. So I say padega, which is masculine, because we're talking about bazar, which is also masculine. The complete sentence would be मुझे बाजार जाना पड़ेगा. It doesn't matter what the gender of the speaker is in this case. When you add padega after a verb, it means that you have to do it. Note that we are only talking about the future tense here. So if you have to do something in the future and you don't really feel like you have a choice, then padega could be used. So jana padega means I will have to go. Another example, if I want to express the idea that I have no choice but to read a certain book, maybe I have to write a report on it, then to say I will have to read it, I'd say padni padegi. Padni padegi. So notice how the gender of both padna and padega changed. That's because kitab is feminine. The full sentence would be mujhe kitab padni padegi. Mujhe kitab padni padegi.
Okay, before moving to the next line, let's see if you can give us another example. Let's say that in the future you have no choice but to exercise. If you recall, the verb for to exercise is varzish karna. Varzish karna. And another hint, it is feminine.
I hope you guys said karni padegi. Karni padegi. As in, mujhe varzish karni padegi.
After Shireen says, जी, जाना पड़ेगा. By the way, on the Urdu CK Instagram page, Shireen shows you how to write G in Urdu, which we forgot to translate. G means yes. Be sure to check out the Instagram post so you can learn to write the word G in Urdu along with various other words. Okay, the next line is अच्छा, मुझे एक चीज चाहिए बाजार से. Acha is one of those versatile words. It can mean many different things depending on context. Here it best means either okay or I see. The only other word that you might not know from this sentence is cheese, and it means thing. So मुझे एक चीज चाहिए बाजार से literally translates to I want one thing from the store. But again, instead of translating चाहिए to want, we are saying it's better to understand it as to need in this context. So the better translation is I need one thing from the store. Ek cheez means one thing.
Right, and then we have fairly short phrases. To understand what that one thing is that Sajad needs, I ask, kya chahiye? Which in this case means, what do you need? Sajad responds with, ek tamatar, mere salad ke liye. Ek, we just saw, means one. Tamatar, I think you can guess, means tomato. So in the first line of the dialogue, ke liye meant in order to. But here, ke liye means for. So let's see if I can help distinguish when and how ke liye can mean in order to and when it can mean for. Just by looking at our examples, we can see that when there's a verb before ke liye, it means in order to. But when there is a noun in front of ke liye, then it means for. So we have the noun salad in front of ke liye. So salad ke liye means for the salad. Let's give a few more examples. So if I want to say, this is for you, I'd say, ye aapke liye hai. Ye aapke liye hai. So aap is my noun, indicating that ke liye here means for. If you want to say, this gift is for my mom, how would you say that, Sajad?
To say this gift is for my mom, I would say, ये तोहफा मेरी अम्मी के लिए है. ये तोहफा मेरी अम्मी के लिए है. If you'd like more examples, be sure to check out the PDF either from the website or from the link in the show notes. So next we see another way to say okay, and that's ठीक है. Then I continue my list of requests saying, oh, और 3 सेब भी चाहिए. सेब means apple. 3 means 3. Seb is a non-count noun. So whether there is only one apple or more than one, we always keep it as seb. The word bhi means also. और 3 सेब भी चाहिए means and I also need 3 apples.
Right. And then he adds another request. He says, oh, or orange juice, which is fully borrowed from English. Oh, or orange juice means oh, and orange juice. Then I say Sajad's name out of disbelief and frustration, but he keeps going. He makes a final request by saying, or doodh, please. Or, hopefully we already know by now, means and. Doodh is a new word. It means milk. And please is often just borrowed from English. It's much easier than saying meherbani karke. Meherbani karke. Meherbani karke is a close equivalent to saying please in Urdu. So he could have said, aur meherbani karke doodh bhi khareed lena. So that's kind of like saying, do me a favor and also buy milk. So you can see why it's just easier to borrow the word please. At this point, I've had enough and say, अच्छा, मैं ऐसा करती हूँ कि तुम्हें पैसे दे देती हूँ डबल रोटी के लिए. ये लो. Let's start with मैं ऐसा करती हूँ कि. This is a set phrase that you'd use when you need to say something like, how about this? Or, I have an idea. How about? Literally, मैं ऐसा करती हूँ means I do like this, which doesn't really make sense. So it's best to use it in this context. When you want to say, how about this? How about I? How about we? And then you propose your idea. So my idea is, तुम्हें पैसे दे देती हूँ डबल रोटी के लिए, which means I'll give you the money for the bread. So I'm saying, how about I give you the money for the bread?
Right. In this phrase, it's assumed that she will give me the money for the bread. The I isn't stated, but the complete phrase in Urdu would be, मैं तुम्हें पैसे दे देती हूँ डबल रोटी के लिए. So I think पैसे is a new vocabulary word. Sheen hasn't introduced it before on this podcast.
No, I don't think I have. So I spent a lot of time trying to figure out the difference between pesa and pese. I was thinking one was singular and the other was plural, but they both are non-count nouns, so they won't be plural. Sajad, do you want to explain it?
Sure, I'll start by introducing 2 questions, one with पैसा and one with पैसे. The first is, आपके पास कितना पैसा है? This means how much money do you have? So, since it's पैसा, here the listener will understand that I'm asking how much money do you have in all, like your total worth. आपके पास कितना पैसा है? So, पैसा is often used to refer to very large amounts. whereas paise can refer to both large amounts and specific amounts. So if I asked Shireen, आपके पास कितने पैसे हैं? She'd likely tell me how much money she currently has, maybe in her wallet, the cash on hand. So this is why we use paise in our dialogue and not पैसा. मैं ऐसा करती हूँ कि तुम्हें पैसे दे देती हूँ डबल रोटी के लिए. Here it's understood that she is going to give me just enough money to buy the bread, and I'll be buying the rest myself.
Well explained. Okay, with मैं is paired the to be verb हूँ. So it's मैं ऐसा करती हूँ कि मैं तुम्हें पैसे दे देती हूँ डबल रोटी के लिए. Again, we'll include the full conjugation of the to be verb on the PDF. The final verb we need to look at is de dena, which means to give. So the the ending that we see added to the stem of the verb dena is a present tense ending. Again, be sure to check out the PDF to see how to conjugate the verb dena in the present tense.
Right. This is a compound verb. The verb dena, which means to give, can be paired with another verb to form another verb entirely. In our dialogue, it's not another verb entirely because we are pairing dena with dena. So this is what we have done. First, we took the stem of the verb dena, that's de, and then we paired it with the verb dena. So it becomes de dena. Now, how did de dena becomes de deti, as in the case in our dialogue? T is the feminine ending that you attach to most verbs when speaking in the present tense. So deti hu means I give. Jati hu means I go. Dekhti hu means I look. When you're about to give something to someone, that's when you can use de dena. So if I want to say I gave him the book, or even I will give him the book, you haven't done it, but you're about to. So in Urdu we'd say मैं उसे किताब दे देता हूँ. मैं उसे किताब दे देता हूँ.
And if I were saying the same sentence, I'd say मैं उसे किताब दे देती हूँ. मैं उसे किताब दे देती हूँ. It's understood that I'll complete the action in the near future. Okay, let's take a look at के लिए. Here, does के लिए mean in order to or for? Since के लिए has a noun in front of it, it means for. We see double roti के लिए. This means for the bread. Let me give you the money for the bread.
Next we have ye lo. If you noticed, Shireen is being informal with me, while I am being formal with her. How do you know? She uses the pronoun tum when addressing me, while I use aap when talking to her. Remember, the formal way to address someone is by using aap, but she used tumhara. Ye lo means here you go, but it's at the informal level. If I wanted to say here you go to Shireen, I'd say ye le or ye lijiye. That's more respectful.
Exactly. Moving on, now it's Sajad's turn to be confused and annoyed, and he expresses that by saying, Kya? And that means, what? To which I respond, मुझे सिर्फ एक चीज चाहिए बाजार से डबल रोटी.
मुझे सिर्फ एक चीज चाहिए बाजार से डबल रोटी means I only need one thing from the store, bread. Once again, we are translating चाहिए as I need, but it literally means I want. When expressing this in English, either need or want could work, but it wouldn't make sense to say need or ज़रूरत in Urdu, so you shouldn't say मुझे डबल रोटी की ज़रूरत है, though the person who is listening to you would understand just fine. And finally, the word सिर्फ means only. सिर्फ एक चीज means only one thing.
And that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you incredibly for learning Urdu along with us. I know that I took a big break, but I'm happy to report that I will be writing new episodes and will be posting them soon. Thank you to everyone who has written in inquiring about Urdu CK's future. For now, I can assure you that we're here to stay. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts so we can climb up the language podcast charts. Again, thank you for listening, and be sure to download the PDF for this episode from the Urdu Seekhiye website at www.urduseekhiye.com. Until next time, Khuda
Khuda
Hafiz
Hafiz.